Liverpool fans, big updates coming your way. From a potential Mo Salah successor to Virgil van Dijk's powerful message to the club, plus fresh Real Madrid interest in Dominik Szoboszlai, and a clearer Champions League pathway, this is huge for the Reds. Make sure you watch till the end, because the final update could change everything at Anfield. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for all the latest Liverpool news first. Liverpool urged to sign Premier League star tipped to complete squad as Mo Salah's successor. Mohamed Salah could leave Liverpool after nearly a decade at Anfield, and the Reds are being urged to move for another Premier League star to replace him. Andy Townsend reckons West Ham striker Jarrod Bowen would prove a superior replacement for Mohamed Salah compared to Real Madrid's Rodrigo, and would seize the opportunity to make the switch. The Brazilian, 24, was reportedly on Liverpool's radar last year following Luis Diaz's transfer to Bayern Munich, while also drawing attention from Arsenal and Manchester City. A move to the Premier League appeared on the cards at one stage, with Rodrigo struggling for regular playing time under then-Real boss Xabi Alonso. Nevertheless, he subsequently expressed his desire to stay in Madrid after the summer transfer window shut. Townsend, though, considers Bowen a more realistic acquisition. With Salah potentially approaching the closing stages of his remarkable Liverpool tenure, Arne Slot is already assembling a squad equipped to compete for silverware in future campaigns. Former Aston Villa midfielder Townsend told Boyle Sports, "Who can Liverpool bring in to take Mohamed Salah's place next season? I think Jarrod Bowen would do very well for Liverpool. I don't quite get the Rodrigo links. Clearly, if you play for Real Madrid, you've got great ability, but I've never seen him as a Galactico. Jarrod Bowen would absolutely go to Liverpool and be a real threat for them from the right on that side. They'd have Cody Gakpo, Hugo Ekitike, and Jarrod Bowen. They give you pace, work rate, goals, and real output. That's a front line that has everything you could want. Liverpool are going to have to look at Bowen because I just don't see Salah staying beyond this summer. Whatever's gone on at Anfield, it's just taken a bit of wind out of Mo's sails. Whether it's a relationship problem or he's just getting older, whatever it is, he's never going to be able to keep producing the numbers like he has done in the past. It just looks like Mo is now running out of steam, and there's no shame in that. It's just football. It's part and parcel of getting older. Mo's best days are behind him, and they've got to replace him. Liverpool's long-standing talisman has topped the club's goal-scoring charts for 8 consecutive seasons, but his return has declined this year. He's netted merely 4 Premier League goals in 16 matches, alongside 2 more in 7 Champions League outings, a marked decrease from his customary standards. Salah joined from Roma in June 2017 and has since become one of Liverpool's finest modern players, amassing 252 goals in 428 appearances across all competitions, and securing a legacy that puts him among the club's all-time greats. Virgil van Dijk sends clear message to Liverpool bosses over club's next captain. Virgil van Dijk has 18 months left to run on his contract at Liverpool, but the Dutchman has already picked the player who could potentially succeed him. Once he decides to leave, Virgil van Dijk believes Dominik Szoboszlai could become Liverpool captain, despite questions over his future. The Hungarian midfielder has been the Reds' star performer this season, having already scored 10 goals. Van Dijk has been Liverpool captain since 2023, but with just 18 months remaining on his contract at Anfield, thought is already turning to who could potentially be past the armband. And the defender believes that Szoboszlai could be a contender. He said, "Obviously he has been very good. Also a player who I think can still make the next step in terms of being a leader for this team. It starts by leading by example, and that's something he has done so far this season, but also everything around it. There is still progress to be made, and that's a good thing in my opinion, so hopefully he will be very important for the years to come at Liverpool." Van Dijk's comments on Szoboszlai come when the midfielder's own future at Liverpool is up in the air. The former RB Leipzig midfielder has just 2 years left to run on his contract, while Hungary boss Marco Rossi has suggested that he is keen on a move to Real Madrid. He said, "Because of the very close and direct relationship I have with Dominik Szoboszlai since he started playing football as a child, Real Madrid has always been his dream. I don't know if he'll be able to take that step because the decision depends on him and also on his club. Despite those comments, Rossi has suggested that he could still see Szoboszlai committing his future to Liverpool. He added, "I absolutely don't rule out the possibility of him staying at Liverpool and renewing his contract there, especially because he's highly valued within the club." Szoboszlai's agent has also offered his take on the Liverpool man's future. Speaking to Hungarian publication NB1, Matthias Esterházy said, "It's completely normal for the public when Dominik is performing like this to talk about what's next and if there's something higher. So, at the moment to talk about what will happen in the summer, in my opinion, is not correct. Not to mention Liverpool are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and Dominik is in a position within the team that has a lot of reserve, so we are not looking outside or elsewhere." Szoboszlai joined Liverpool from German side RB Leipzig in 2023, and he has gone on to score 25 goals in 129 appearances in all competitions. Dominik Szoboszlai transfer talks said it all as Real Madrid begin another Liverpool campaign. Paul Gors takes a closer look at Dominik Szoboszlai's current situation at Liverpool. As the informed midfielder's excellent campaign goes on, when Jurgen Klopp was first permitted to speak to Dominik Szoboszlai, after Liverpool had triggered the 60-minute release clause in his RB Leipzig contract, the Hungary captain revealed that it was as though the pair had known each other 1,000 years. The ease at which Szoboszlai was able to converse with Klopp was all he needed to sign up to what was an ambitious rebuilding of an engine room that had been run into ruins by the summer of 2023. During the chat, the pair were said to have spoken about plans for how he would be used in a new-look midfield, the Anfield atmosphere, and the harmony of a dressing room that has retained its nucleus during a glittering period between 2019 and 2022. Jörg Schmadtke, who was working as the club's short-term sporting director, initially believed the club were overpaying for the Hungarian. But with the German on board to essentially facilitate the deals Klopp was seeking to get over the line, the fee was triggered and Szoboszlai signed at the end of June that year. It would perhaps be inaccurate to suggest signing Szoboszlai was the culmination of a deal that had been in the works for some time, however. While Liverpool have often prided themselves on their ability to strategically plan for the long term, the absence of a full-time sporting director and the mounting responsibilities placed on Klopp as a result meant the deal was executed relatively swiftly for a club who have tended to pore over the finer details before any green lights are given. The deal struck with Brighton for Alexis Mac Allister, which was formally ratified earlier that month, was overseen by the outgoing Julian Ward, who formally handed over the sporting director reins once the Argentina international had signed. What followed was a 3-week dearth of developments, which allowed speculation to rage from outlets who knew Liverpool were in search of further reinforcements in the middle of the park. Ryan Gravenberch had been a long-standing target, dating back to his emergence at Ajax, but he was only one of 4 who was being assessed, to varying degrees at the time, alongside Borussia Mönchengladbach's Manu Kone, Kefren Thuram of Nice, and Gabri Veiga, who plied his trade at Celta Vigo in 2023. The Under-21's European Championship complicated matters for a Liverpool recruitment department who were keen to continue their early rebuilding, and while Gravenberch was number 1 on that aforementioned shortlist, it was unclear at the time what Bayern Munich's plans were for the young Dutchman for the campaign ahead, hence why he only signed after the term had started. Liverpool considered Szoboszlai a more viable alternative to Mason Mount, who had been attracting interest due to his contract situation at Chelsea, his status as an England international, and his quality across a number of positions. The 60 million price tag Chelsea were demanding, later paid by Manchester United, was enough to see Liverpool explore alternatives, which took them to Szoboszlai, whose agreement was concluded within a week, due to the release clause being set to expire on June 30th. Talks were stepped up on Monday of that week, and by the Friday evening, with the terms due to run out, Liverpool reached the agreement with Leipzig, a club with whom a long-standing relationship continues. A lot of water flowed down the Danube, was how one put it when the speed of the negotiations was brought up. If it was a deal that rubber-stamped relatively quickly, however, the risk was mitigated by the usual dossier of data analysis that accompanies every transfer target and a number of glowing character references that both Klopp and Schmadtke sought out about Szoboszlai. Friends and former colleagues who had worked with the then Leipzig man were glowing in their appraisals to the then Reds manager. Anfield insiders also spoke about his ability as a natural leader and his status as Hungary captain in his early 20s was proof enough of that, but it is a quality he has only developed further in recent months. "This is a signing for our present and also for our future," said Klopp at the time, with a statement that remains as prescient as the day it was uttered nearly 2 summers ago. 10 goals for the season now sees him second in the list of top scorers behind Hugo Ekitike, and his 4 assists and as many goals in the Champions League was only bettered by Real Madrid superstar Kylian Mbappe in the group stages of Europe's revamped competition. "Obviously, he has been very good," says Virgil van Dijk. "He is also a player who I think can still make the next step in terms of being a leader for this team. It starts by leading by example, and that's something he has done so far this season. But also, everything around it, there is still progress to be made, and that's a good thing in my opinion, so hopefully he will be very important for the years to come at Liverpool." The 160mm capture of Florian Wirtz had left many feeling initially as though Szoboszlai's place was under threat. A hard-pressing numbered 10 full of boundless energy was about to be replaced by a lithe playmaker whose gifts centered around touch and technique. The adaptation period for Wirtz in English football, coupled with the need for Szoboszlai to help out at right-back at times, has meant game time has not diminished for the 2025 Premier League title winner, and the player himself backed himself privately to remain a vital component of the team, insisting fierce competition was par for the course at a club like Liverpool. Talks around a new deal are ongoing, with the 25-year-old eager to extend his stay on Merseyside. If supporters have started to become unnerved by the apparent lack of progress, which was something Szoboszlai claimed was not in his hands recently, the prospect of Real Madrid interest has only led to increased anxiety of late. In an interview with Marca, widely regarded as the publication with its ear closest to the ground in Madrid, Hungary boss Marco Rossi said, "Szoboszlai always had one dream, to play for Real Madrid. Because of the very close and direct relationship I have with Dominik Szoboszlai since he started playing football as a child, Real Madrid has always been his dream. I don't know if he'll be able to take that step, because the decision depends on him and also on his club. I absolutely don't rule out the possibility of him staying at Liverpool and renewing his contract there, especially because he's highly valued within the club. He's a very important player for Liverpool, and Liverpool is one of the biggest clubs in the world." As far as statements from national coaches go, it was an unwanted one from Liverpool's perspective, but it was instructive and encouraging to hear Matthias Esterhazy, the number 8's agent, play down the prospect of a move away from Anfield this week. The Hungarian representative was quoted as saying, "It's completely normal for the public when Dominik is performing like this to talk about what's next and if there's something higher. For us, it's not a topic. We are mid-season. He has a lot of work ahead of him in the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. He has said many times how important this competition is for him. So at the moment, to talk about what will happen in the summer, in my opinion, is not correct. Not to mention, Liverpool are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and Dominik is in a position within the team that has a lot of potential, so we are not looking outside or elsewhere." It's understood Szoboszlai has plans to remain beyond the end of his current terms, which are set to expire in 2028, and further cement himself as a modern Anfield great. Comparisons with Steven Gerrard have been wisely played down, particularly when he was asked about the iconic Red skipper in the aftermath of Saturday's 3-0 win over Brighton and Hove Albion. "I'm not playing a Steven Gerrard season, although he was a legend for the club," Szoboszlai told TNT Sports. "I just try to do my own story, and I try to do my best every game. Hopefully we can go on until the end." The answer, like his performances this term, was further evidence of a maturity both on and off the pitch. And while Szoboszlai has also previously downplayed his growing stature in the dressing room, insisting earlier this season the squad has enough leaders already, it is believed that the captaincy, long-term, is an ambition he harbors. Is he a future captain? That's all on the manager, I think, says Van Dijk. One for further down the line, it seems. For now, the next step appears striking the right agreement to extend the stay. Liverpool Champions League pathway becomes clearer as 2 likeliest options emerge. Liverpool avoided the Champions League playoffs after finishing inside the top 8 spots, but we'll be keeping an eye on how its potential last 16 opponents are getting on, Liverpool avoided the Champions League playoff by finishing in the top 8 of the league phase, meaning Arne Slot and his players have this midweek and the next one off. Given the hectic schedule and the lack of options due to injuries, and a limited pool of players for Liverpool to pick from at the moment, that was a huge boost. But the Reds can still keep an eye on developments in Europe in the meantime. In the last 16, Liverpool knows that it will face one of Galatasaray, Juventus, Club Brugge, or Atletico Madrid. A draw will pair the winner of one of those ties with the Reds and one with Spurs. On Tuesday, Galatasaray hammered 10-man Juventus by 5-2, taking a commanding lead in that clash. The Italian side at home next midweek faces an uphill battle to progress. Then on Wednesday, Club Brugge came from 2 goals down against Atletico Madrid, only for the Spanish outfit to retake the lead via a Joel Ordiné's own goal and Christos Tzolis to level things up again. It would appear, with Galatasaray winning by a 3-goal margin, that it will be one of the 2 options that Liverpool could face next. Atletico Madrid, having drawn 3-3 in Belgium, will expect to get the job done in the reverse leg, but Club Brugge has given itself a chance. Looking further ahead, should Liverpool beat whoever it faces next, the rest of the competition is taking shape too. PSG came from behind to beat fellow French side AS Monaco, with the winner of that matchup going on to face one of Barcelona or Chelsea in the last 16 before a potential meeting with Liverpool in the quarterfinals. Elsewhere, Benfica and Real Madrid faced each other again, just a few weeks after the Portuguese side secured a spot in the playoffs in the most dramatic of circumstances, beating the Spanish giant thanks to goalkeeper Anatoly Trubin's header. UEFA is currently investigating alleged racist abuse directed at Vinicius Jr. in that game. Borussia Dortmund took charge of its tie with Atalanta, winning 2-0 in the home leg. Any one of those 4 sides is a potential semi-final opponent should Liverpool make it that far. Liverpool, as a top 8 qualifier, will host the second leg of their last 16 tie at Anfield. The round of 16 draw is on February 27th, a couple of days after the second legs in the playoffs are concluded. Arne Slot sent Champions League message as 3 players lead to Liverpool change. Liverpool might have turned a corner in recent weeks, but there is still more work to be done for Arne Slot and his players to overtake Manchester United, and Chelsea-Liverpool has found some form in recent matches, though there is still more work to be done by Arne Slot and his players. And with the race for the Champions League places ongoing, that improvement needs to continue. Both Manchester United and Chelsea have also done well in recent weeks, and only 2 out of the 3 teams are expected to make the top 5 in the Premier League, which should be enough to make UEFA's top competition. I think they have been better, and I think individuals may have turned a corner, Sky Sports pundit and former Arsenal striker Alan Smith told Best Betting Sites. Milos Kerkez seemed to do well at the weekend with a good assist. Florian Wirtz is now achieving more consistency, and we're starting to see why they spent so much money. So better times for them, and I think they've got a good chance of finishing in a Champions League spot, 5th position maybe. They're hunting down Chelsea, and I think maybe they'll just pip them to that 5th spot, but it's looking better for them. Ibrahima Konate has shown that he's a top-class player. Obviously, he had a difficult start to the season, made a lot of mistakes, but he's settled down now, and he's got a great partnership with Virgil van Dijk, who has been speaking highly of him. So, I would imagine if he wants to stay, Liverpool would want him to stay. So, they would want to come to an agreement because finding a replacement for somebody like that costs a lot of money, and you're not always sure it's going to work. But Arne Slot, that will encourage him. The fact that Konate is now showing much better form. Having won the Premier League last season, Slot has overseen a transition to a new team in this campaign. But with things looking up, there is still a Champions League spot and 2 pieces of silverware to play for. If we don't have Champions League football, it's definitely not been an acceptable season, the Reds boss admitted recently. When I arrived here, we could only sign Federico Chiesa, and that was after a Europa League season. That does have an enormous impact on the way this club is run. That is clear. We are completely aware. That is a difficult question for me to answer because I don't decide on my future, the Dutchman said, when asked if he would still be in a job if Liverpool didn't make the Champions League. The only thing I do know is that it happened before and recently, and it didn't affect the future of that manager. But that doesn't guarantee anything, of course. Maybe somewhere else it is not only about results, but mainly. And at some clubs, they also look at the progress the players make, the progress the team makes, and the circumstances are sometimes taken into account. That is not at all clubs, but I think I am working at a club that does look at those things, as it has shown that in the past when the club did not qualify for the Champions League. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for my channel.